Kevin Kernan joins us now on the Bobby B Sports Tech Hotline. Ball9.com. Beautiful article they just wrote a few days ago on Brian Sabean coming back to the New York Yankees. He helped build the 90s Yankees into a championship ball club, and now he's going to try and do the same thing with the 2023 and beyond version. KK, how are you, and Happy New Year?
Happy New Year, Dibs. Always great to be with you. And you're right. I had a 45-minute conversation with Sabes earlier in the week, and it was so nice to talk baseball.
Well, and you were talking a month ago about the pendulum swinging back towards more baseball people. It's great to seeing them back. Omar Minaya is now joining the Yankees, and other big-name people are joining front offices. What does that say? And I'm not trying to say anything derogatory about analytics or the way they've been doing things the last decade, even the last 5 years with Driveline and some of these other outfits. But why are they bringing back more baseball people at this time?
Because their eyes have been opened, some of the owners, and they want to win. And to me, a model franchise to watch. And thanks for mentioning that article. I always try to be ahead of the curve, and I wrote, here's why I think the pendulum's swinging back. And to his credit, Cashman, this was a Cashman deal. I don't think it was Hal Steinbrenner. And one of the things I want to point out is that Chris Young, I want to give him some credit. Even I haven't talked to Chris in a while, but the former pitcher, Princeton guy, he went down to Texas, saw what was going on, and said, "What the hell are we doing here?" And he started bringing baseball people back in the organization, and that's how you get Bochy back. That's how you make the deal. He rebuilt the pitching staff to Grom. Those teams that do baseball things, and again, let's make it clear, Dibs. I pick on analytics because they deserve to get picked on. Too many nerds. It's that simple. Analytics have always been in the game. Sabean mentioned that to me as well. They always use numbers. They've just recoded it. They don't see the game anymore. They don't watch the game. And guys like Dusty Baker, I think, is a big reason for the return, too, because Jim Crane, he said the same thing. What's going on? I heard that with Crane in Houston, there was a big meeting, and there were like 50 nerds in the room, and nobody said hi to Crane. That's the boss, the owner. So I think that was his aha moment, and then he started changing from there. And you get things like Jeremy Pena batting second, even though all the nerds didn't want him batting second. So the teams that win, and this is the real reason, this is the essential reason, the teams that get to the World Series are doing a lot of baseball things with some analytics sprinkled in. And the smart teams are starting to realize that. And very interesting with Sabean, he's not a senior assistant, senior advisor. You see that a lot. He's an executive advisor. So that's a little different. I think he's going to be he's going to be in spring training a lot. He's going to see a lot of things. And most importantly for Yankee fans, he says his number one goal right now is learn your own organization. You got to learn this side of the fence, is how he put it. And he believes he believes in talking to a lot of people. I think my favorite line in the whole column was I asked him about, bringing in different things like analytics, scouts, the people he had up in San Francisco, the Pat Dobsons. And he said, you know what, Kevin, I had one rule. If I was the smartest guy in the room, I was in the wrong room. And I think more nerds need to understand that.
Is it losing games all the time, or is it losing some money as well that is making this pendulum swing?
Well, that's a part of it. I mean, the bottom line is they're gaining so much money because of the different revenue streams, and we see it with the Correa and everything else and all the money that's thrown around. But I think these guys, the owners now, they come out of their business where they're successful, all of them, and Cohen's a perfect example. They live by numbers, so naturally they're going to gravitate towards numbers. But then they start realizing, well, we need, there's something to be said for old-time baseball knowledge. And again, Sabean said it perfectly when he said, I hate that term gut feeling. A manager went by his gut feeling. It's not a gut feeling. It's something he's seen thousands of times. The people in the dugout have seen so many times. They've talked about it. So it's really not to say it's a gut feeling. It's a brain feeling. They're using their brain. And I just think it's natural that people are starting to open their eyes a little bit. There's still too many analytics, and it's going to be real interesting, too, with the new rules. I mean, it's going to be crazy with the stealing bases if you know what you're doing. And so you got to constantly have talent. Like Sabean said, You need talented players, and you need to pay them. It's really that simple. I mean, if you really want to be a winner.
Talking to Kevin Kernan from Ball9.com. Kevin, I've been saying this for years. I mean, they've just tried to, like you said, you nailed it. They're recoding things that we talked about. We always talked about on base, getting on base. We talked about all the slugging percentages and stuff like that. And just by merging them together and getting OPS doesn't make you a genius. It's you still have to be good. You still have to hit. You still have to hit with runners in scoring position and stuff like that. And that stuff doesn't lie. That stuff doesn't lie. Batting average with guys in scoring position, batting average with a guy on third. I mean, that was one of Lou Piniella's biggest pet peeves about Paul O'Neill and why he got traded was because he had one sacrifice fly an entire season with the Reds, and he still had 90-plus RBI. So think of how many Paul would have driven in. That was just something that it wasn't personal. It was just that Lou was like, listen, he played with guys like Mattingly. He played with all those guys that wanted to just hit the ball on the ground to get the run in and things like that. I love what Brian Sabian's bringing to the table here about the game is so mental. You have to just be prepared for whatever situation, and then don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. So well said. And also, I want people in the room who understand how hard this game is. That's important, too. A lot of the nerds don't get how hard the game is. And I thought one of the most brilliant things that Sabian said to me, and again, I urge people to read this at Ball 9, because, I write better than I talk, to be honest. But he said, like, Bill Livesey, the famous old scout, he was with Gene Michael, and those were his mentors. He said, Livesey taught me, if you see enough of a player, a young player or whatever, and you got a feel for him, don't keep going back. Because when you keep going back, unless there's an injury or something changes, dramatically, but don't keep going back, because then you're only going to see the negative stuff, and you forget about the positive stuff, and then you let somebody slip through your fingers who should be there. And I thought that was pretty brilliant. And again, these guys have real life. It's like, let me break it down to something simple. Are you going to bring the plumber into your house that's been a plumber for 10 years and has seen everything? Or are you going to bring the kid plumber in who just, graduated and maybe went to a good tech school, but still has to prove some things? It's good to have the kid plumber as the apprentice, but and that's what I think you should do with the nerds. But you got to go with experience, and experience wins every year. We just saw every single World Series. It's the team that basic. A few years. Let's go back to the Nationals. A few years ago, I noticed for a fact Jack McKeon went to Davey Martinez and said, "Hey, you got to start using some of your when you get to the playoffs. Use some of your starters to use as relievers. Don't be so push. Don't take guys out so quickly. Things like that." And that's what Davey did. He did a little bit more baseball things and all the things that happened for the Nationals, and they won that championship. Time and time again, it happens. Sabian's 66, but he's still like a kid. And I joked to him. I said, geez, the only thing that was missing was a bottle of wine with our conversation. And then, of course, Sabian being Sabian says, well, or two, a bottle of wine or two, because he's from Bruce Bochy days where Boch was the connoisseur, and so I only wish that I could be, when Sabian and Boch meet face-to-face again. That would be a great conversation as well.
The big news right before you came on, we just learned that Trevor Bauer has been unconditionally released from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He will be paid what he is owed from the Dodgers, which was upwards around $22 million. If another team wants to pick him up, they only need to spend $720,000. What's the future hold for Trevor Bauer?
I think he's going to have a pick of teams. Why shouldn't he? I mean, he, the whole thing in the courts and everything. He is who he is. You know what you're getting with Bauer. I go way back with this guy when he did the thing with the drone. I was in the clubhouse. With his cut fingers and everything.
In the playoffs,
he's a little,
right?
Yeah, he's goofy. He's goofy. Obviously, he's got those things which, what happened in San Diego or wherever that was out in Southern California, not good. But you know what? If I'm trying to win a championship, I'm signing Trevor Bauer tomorrow. And I tell him, you be on your best behavior. You got a short leash here. Try to be a team guy. Enough with the swords, enough with all that other stuff. Let's go out and pitch. We need you. And I think it would be a smart move for a team to sign Trevor Bauer.
Let's go back to Correa. It was about 3 weeks the Mets were sitting on him. What have you heard? What do you understand? The Giants seem to do it quickly, but the Mets they were waffling back and forth. Were they trying to change the language? And how did it become the way it is with the Twins?
Well, the irony of this whole thing, Dibs, is that the Astros were right on. They offered him 5 for $160. Basically, which is basically what he got from the Twins. So again, Scott, Boris, no Scott forever. Scott's going to go where he can get the most money anywhere, anytime, plays it perfectly. The Giants are kind of desperate because they didn't get Judge, plays that out, fails the physical, makes the call while Cone is in Hawaii. But Cone is a smart. He knows about risk and reward. I mean, that's his business, And at first it sounds great. Once they started looking into it, they wanted to bring it down, and they did bring it down a number of years. And I think I just don't think that Correa wanted to go there. And I think it says a little bit something about Correa, too, that, going back to the Twins, and now he loves Minnesota. He's a great player, but there's a little, I don't want to say the term fake, but there's a little fakeness to him. And there's a little bit too much showmanship instead of just getting the job done. Let me remind you, the Twins, 9 teams finished with a better record or equal record to the Twins last year with Correa. So, you got to start somewhere. Good for the Twins, good for Correa. I think I think he'll, my gut feeling is, he'll be okay physically for the most part. I'm a little concerned about the back, and the ankle can lead to the back situation because I've been in the clubhouse too when he had back issues. So I would never give him 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. I think the Twins made a smart signing. Good for them. Again, it's always great to get a hungry player who wants to show some people and got a chip on his shoulder, and Correa will have that. So what he needs to do, though, this is one of the most important things Correa can do. He needs to get, and I know he's already started on this, but have serious conversations with Byron Buxton about stop running in the walls, make sure you're as healthy as you can be, play the game. We need you on the field. And Correa, this says a lot about Correa as a player and a person being able to manage this injury all these years. So I think it's kind of like the conversation I had with Judge 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was. Stop diving for balls against the Orioles. What the hell are you doing?
So true.
And again, I'm not telling that story to promote me. I'm telling that story to say this is the kind of information guys like you used to get from your managers and from your coaching. The nerds can't tell them that. They don't know that. Funny story. You mentioned Lou, and I love Lou. We all love Lou. But Fabian had a wonderful Lou story about when they got Ichiro, right? And he's watching Ichiro for the first couple of days. Lou's very, he's opinionated, and he's basically complaining to one of his coaches, like, this guy, he hasn't shown any power. He's just thinking it. What do we do here? Turns out that the translator overheard the conversation. For the next 3 or 4 days, Ichiro just every day in batting practice just started hitting bombs. And Lou said, "Okay, I stand corrected." So again, that's real baseball talk. There's nothing wrong with challenging a player and saying, "What are we doing here? You can do better," instead of saying, "Well, if you raise your swing angle 12 degrees here and do this and do this, get lost. Go out there, man up, and play baseball."
Is there any truth to some of these rumors we're hearing, just sticking with the Mets, that Andrew McCutchen is a destination, or the Mets are a destination for Andrew McCutchen? A lot of other teams interested in him as well. And does that even do anything? Is that a big piece for the Mets puzzle?
I wouldn't call it a big piece, but it could be a good piece. He's a solid citizen. Guy still has a little power. Buck would find a way to use him, and I think isn't that what we've seen from their outfield? There was a little power short during to be quite frank, they needed a healthy Conforto if he was still around there, And so I think I think there's a lot to it. I think why wouldn't McCutchen sign with the Mets? It'd be a great signing for him, good signing for the Mets. The Mets have to beef it up a little bit. I think there's going to be a lot of things going on once the trade, you get to the trade deadline. I mean, where does a guy like Anthony Rendon wind up? For example, let me just throw that out there. And I think Manny Machado is licking his lips to get to New York. I know Manny quite well, and he, it depends what the Padres do, obviously, here, but one of the things with him, we get back to baseball again, this is important. Manny got a little frustrated by the whole Tatis theater. Too much theater with a lot of these players, not only PEDs and all that stuff, too much theater about them. I think the Mets are putting together a team where they're thinking about us as opposed to them. And but believe me, they still have their work cut out. Great division. Love what the Phillies did with Trey Turner. Difference maker, especially with the new rules. They've made some good moves. I'm not sure about the additions the Mets have made with their bullpen. It's good to get Ottavino back and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of I still think you can make a lot of little fixes here and there. And certainly same thing for the Yankees. The guys like McCutchen, they've been around. They know how to get it. And McCutchen has accepted who he is now as a player. That's a big part. I think when he was with the Yankees, he wasn't quite there yet with knowing that he was a part-time player.
KK, always great to have you on, sir. Happy holidays and all that and stuff. And can't wait for spring training to start.
It's only about 5 weeks to go, and it's almost time for the Red Sox to get a shortstop.
I was going to ask you. I didn't know if you had the depth chart in front of you, but who would be playing shortstop for the Red Sox?
Oh my God! And you saw just yesterday, not to keep you, but Rojas goes to the Dodgers. That's the guy that should have went and got to get some help. And as I call it up there. And I know Div's wife is a Red Sox fan, but it's a Bloomdoggle up there, so we'll see where it goes.
I'm Bloomdoggle. Very nice. You're the best,
okay,
KK.
Guys.
Take care, buddy.
Care.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and do First Dibs question of the day next.
97.9 ES.